It's Friday evening. It's 7:30, and I'm live again. It seems so long since I was live, so I'm looking forward to this. So this evening we're going to be talking about a lot of things. You know my subject at the moment, and we are going to bring a new face to the table, and we're going to go through some news that's happened in the last couple of days regarding Paul Thorpe and Danny from Spain. Now, I just want to make one thing clear, and this is, everybody keeps sending me messages saying, I thought that you apologized and you said everything was wrong and you're sorry and all this, that and the other. Now, you're quite right. I did say sorry, and I said sorry because I said some things that maybe went a little bit too far, but ultimately were true. And secondly, I always maintained the thought that even though this Sun newspaper article came out and it didn't say what I thought it was going to say, which I was led to believe it was going to say, which would have been the receipts that everybody wanted, I still retained my position that I do want answers regarding this fundraiser money in the name of Peter Lynch. I get accused for digging up his corpse and all things like that, but that's a natural reaction when people and a movement and people within an inner circle are feeling the heat a little bit. Now, what I want to get through to people is that if you are being asked questions of the nature that I'm trying to ask and Simon tries to ask and other people have asked regarding donations and this, that and the other, if it's met with silence, then that really should be ringing alarm bells for people, surely not. Now, a lot of people say they're not bothered what happened with the donations. They're not bothered that there's cocaine. They're not bothered about this. They're not bothered about that and bothered about the other. I am. And the only reason I do this, because let me tell you, it's hard work. I get a lot of abuse. You know, I've lost streams of followers, which is not what it's about for me. But I genuinely want to open people's eyes that give donations, especially in the climate that we're in. People have not got any money and people are being conned out of their hard-earned money that they do have. And I find that, as a Christian, implorable, really. So I can't leave this, and I won't leave this. And if anybody from the team is watching this, and I'm sure there'll be people watching this from the team, and if they're not, and you know the team, then please send them this and tell them to listen in, because they might be interested with what's coming up. I want those questions answered, and I just cannot for the life of me understand why somebody from the team wouldn't just come on and say, well, okay, Mark, you want to ask the question of this and this, put me in my place, send me packing, and you'll never hear from me again. But I'm being met by silence every single day. And obviously you get the abuse, Mark, you're irrelevant, you know, why would they want to talk to you, etc., etc. These grifters portray themselves as a professional organization, a professional movement with a professional news outlet in Urban Scoop, when really they're not. And if you perceive yourself to be a professional organization, then you should act accordingly. And quite frankly, some of the responses, some of the posts that these people put out are vile, to be honest. And anybody that puts their trust in those types of people, then really you should be having a look at yourself. I done a podcast with Jada Franson and Simon the other night, and Jada was quite blunt, and she said that people need to stand up and be counted for. You know, she called it cowardice. And I tend to agree with her on that. Listen, we're going to talk about a few things tonight, in particular, Paul Thorpe. He's just put out a recent podcast of him on his scooter, riding around Benidorm. And he quite clearly says in that video that something has gone on within the movement and he wants out. He's tapping out. He wants out, and so too Danny in Spain, Danny Salmon. So we'll talk about that. So before I go any further, I'll bring the first guy in. You'll know him. He's been regular with me at the moment. We're spending a lot of time talking. So Simon, great to have you on again, mate.
Thank you, mate.
You had a good week?
Yeah, it's been a wonderful week in actual fact of a rolling thunder all in the right direction. Watching them
Rolling
fall
thunder.
you know.
Okay.
Rolling thunder. It's a term I learned in the Royal Artillery years ago. It's a strategy of you pound the enemy until it feels like they're being hit by a rolling thunder. So It's been a rolling thunder week, and they've been on the receiving end of it, and it's long overdue because of all the nefarious activities that they've been up to over these years, and escaped prosecution for all of it. And my only objective is to set the record straight, and that's why I'm here.
Absolutely. We're joined by another face tonight, another name, but this person's been within that inner circle, really. He's been quite at the forefront of things in the past, and he's had his own theories, and he's got his own receipts, what he's brought up in the past. So before I bring him on today, I would like to introduce him in a special way, if you like. And I want to play you a clip from a member of Tommy Robinson's inner circle. And the reason I'm going to play you this is simply because I want you to see how these guys operate and what type of people they actually are. So people may know this lady. Her name is Tony, and this is her stalking my next guest.
I mean, you invited me down for a cup of tea. I want to make sure you get this kettle on. I'll take 2 sugars. Don't worry about stirring it. I know we all know what a good shit stirrer you are, but don't worry about stirring my tea, darling. Where are you? I phoned you 3 times, you're not answering. I mean, you've got a lot to say behind your computer, haven't you? Or behind your phone. I mean, here I am. I turned up, mate. You don't think you're going to go around fucking trying to ask people for my mum's details, do you? What? And me not come down and have this nice cup of tea with you? Now, in about 2 minutes' time, because you're not answering your phone, I'm going to walk over there, because I see your black BMW parked next to your lorry with your Union jacket. So I'm going to come over and give you a little tap in a minute. I thought I'd just give you a quick wake-up call, so I am actually here. Answer your fucking phone, prick. Come on. I'm here by myself, look. Just me. Just me. I'm not no fucking clown world. And I mean, we all know you like a performance. And I'll give you a good performance. Where are you, Andy? Come on. I'll come all this way for you.
Andy, how are you?
I'm not bad, thank you. How are you guys?
Yeah, I'm really good, thank you. So, Andy, can you tell us who that was and what was happening there?
Ginger Tony, just trying scare tactics to stop me from posting any of the voice notes from the days when I used to hang around with them on protests. I had a lot of questions around the Danny Tomo and the underage girl and the alleged rape charge and the so-called video. And I, for a few years, spent my time around them to see if I can just poke them, just see what I can get out of them. And, I think about 4 years with other people involved as well. We collected a heap of their voice notes from different people that had been around them about the story around Danny Tomo. We managed to put something together that she was the one who planned to get Danny's phone taken off him with some evidence. And this is their response to us trying to, put it public of what we've heard and what we've got, to see what the public.
So am I the understanding, Andy, that these voice notes have been out in the public domain before? Yeah,
they've been out probably about 3 years now. And still to this day, we haven't had our questions answered. Just like what you're saying in your intro about the questions you've got for them. You'll never get your answers.
Well, we'll see. I'm hoping when the main man comes out that I can put enough pressure on that he might answer me himself. But we'll see. Every day, me and Simon are on X, saying come and answer our questions. Let us know the paper trail for this, that, and the other, etc., etc. Before we go any further, I'll just read a couple of messages out. We've got Neil Price. Neil, I speak to Neil quite a bit on X. He's just saying hi from Wales. And he follows that up, guys, with this. And this will ring true, to be honest. He basically says too many people turn the other cheek when they see trouble because they're scared to help, because they might end up in jail. It's a sad state. Quite right, Neil. We've got English Nationalist. He's in watching tonight. Rolling Thunder. That's not what Rolling Thunder means, he says.
It
Simon.
is. It was devised by Viscount Alan Brooke.
The best thing that can happen tonight is any of these bad actors, any of these grifters are watching this and they feel brave enough to ask a question, or even braver, I'll send them a link and they can come and join us. That would be that would be my preference, but we'll see. Now, the reason that we're in touch with each other is through somebody that I used to be in touch with, which I've since fallen out with, and that is their old head of security, Mr. Paul Bates. Now, I'm keen to find out what he's actually up to be honest. But both you guys know Paul, don't you? And that's how you two have got in contact with each other.
Right. He should put me to you to let you into some stuff that I'd been through. No idea what he's up to. Like,
did he tell you what happened with me and him?
I didn't really ask questions on that, to be honest, because I didn't know who you were to start off with. But he said something that you've been involved with a lot of the urban scoop stuff, and then with the scams with the guy that you're on about with the £40,000 donation. Yeah,
Peter Lynch. We'll get on to that shortly. So essentially, these two guys are in contact with Paul Bates, I think, every now and again. It'd be interesting to see what he's up to, because when I was working with Paul Bates before we had a very public fallout, he was bringing so many receipts that I was on cloud nine. I thought, this is it, and he turned up with nothing at all and let me ride the wave of hatred. I've just dimmed myself down and we're going to go again. One thing that I want to talk about today, and this is regards a couple of videos that have come out in the last couple of days. Now, this is from people with inside Tommy's movement, and names being Paul Thorpe and Danny in Spain. Are you aware of these people, Andy, for a start?
I've heard the names floating about, but I don't know too much about it. But
so
it's interesting.
You're fully aware who they are, aren't you?
Oh, I know of Paul Thorpe, the communal narcissist. Yes, 100%. I've studied Paul in quite some detail, in actual fact, particularly from a psychological point of view. And in fact, I was down in Sussex with my friend last year, and I persuaded her, against her better judgment, to spend an hour and 10 minutes watching Paul Thorpe on a live stream. And that was the first time she'd ever seen him. And she said, goodness me, she said, how could anybody watch that man? He's so dreadfully boring. And she says, he kept that going for the last 40 minutes just to get the super chats in. I said, well, yeah, absolutely. They're all at it, basically. But then, of course, in his latest Benidorm video on his little kid scooter, looking all hip and trendy as usual, because I guess he's got a problem with growing up in many ways. He was saying, that I don't need super chats and I'm very wealthy. I've got interest in boxing and football. Well, fair enough. Why did you ask for super chats in the first place then? Did you get the point I'm making? If he's so wealthy, I mean, why on earth would you ask for a super chat? I mean, I've never made one penny from any online campaigning of any description. It's cost me lots of money to do it. Totally the reverse, yeah. I've never asked people when I've come out of prison and been, on my arse, as they say in prison. I've never asked anybody to do any grifting for me for any free money of any description, basically. And I was only in prison for thought crime anyway, so-called. And look, at the end of the day, I mean, that in itself, I think you and I in particular, Mark, because we're both in very similar situations, with Thought Crime Incorporated. And we came out and we didn't ask for any free money. It just totally and utterly scotches the myth that they need money always at all times. Can you afford to give me 150 grand for this? Can you afford to contribute to a 200 grand for this? And then goes to court, pleads guilty, throws in the towel and pockets the money. And that is the urban scam in a nutshell, quite frankly. And I've seen it in action since Gareth Fry first put me onto these people. He warned me not to have anything to do with them in 2016, 2017. And it's just the same old copybook every single time, the same playbook. grifting. Somebody gets wise to the grifting, and then obviously they think it's disgusting and unacceptable. They expose it, and then comes the tirade of death threats, intimidation, online stalking, and also physical stalking, as we saw with Andy. And in my case, you know, for opportunistic violent attacks when they recognize me, because these sick, twisted, obsessive trolls in their stalker factory had recognized me from photographs that had been circulated about me in all of these groups, and they failed on all 4 occasions. But yeah, Paul thought, well, yeah, you know, a communal narcissist is someone who pretends to be the good guy, forever doing charity work, you know, and comes across as being sweet and lovely, and nobody could ever possibly think he or she was anything but that. But behind the scenes, they're just an absolute piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying, and that's what we know Paul thought to be, quite frankly. If he doesn't like what I've got to say, well, you know, he can just carry on with his one-way ticket to Spain. It's funny how they always keep running to Spain. It reminds you of the old, the criminal gangs running out of England years ago, doesn't it? You know, and taking up route on the Costa del Sol, etc. You know, it's the same playbook again, isn't it? Because it's the same mentality. Quick, let's run to Spain. You know, because well, I don't want to be any part of this one, Brad. Why? What does he not want to be a part of? What does he not want
guys,
to be a part of?
I've got somebody in the comments that's a big fan of both of yours. I promised that I'd read all of the comments, good and bad, and because it needs to be shown that, you know, when you're talking about Tommy and his team and what you're trying to expose and what you believe to be true, and I just want to stress that as well. This is what I believe to be true, and we are going to, over the coming weeks, prove to you what we believe to be true. But as somebody in the chat, English nationalist, so Andy Riches was as bad as Ginger Tony. He then goes on to say, why is the wife and child beater hiding his face? Come on, Simon, what does it mean, you clown? It's a rolling barrage to protect your advancing troops. All fucking mouth as ever. Something else he knows all about. Come on, Mr. Charisma. This is like listening to paint dry. Or we're not finished. Hold on. We all know all of this, for fuck's sake.
Simple answer to national English nationalist. He's a coward that needs to follow someone because he ain't man enough to do the shit himself. And because we're called out the people that he's following, he's obviously screaming his head off. Hey, don't attack him. He's a hero.
It's a fair point. This is what I can't stomach. Yeah, all we're trying to do, you know, is help thousands and thousands of people that we believe are putting money into a scam over the years to fund habits, to fund lifestyle, and it's not going to where these guys and girls say that it's going to. And just because we dare to ask a few questions, right? We're just asking a few questions at this stage, right? Which are not being answered. When why would they not? This is the type of abuse that you get, and this is pretty tame to some of the stuff that I get via DM. English nationalist, get a mod mark. You need to silence the 16 people watching. Listen, it's never been about numbers. It's never been about followers. I'll tell you this time and time again. If this video goes out and one person starts to ask questions and starts to think, do you know what? They're actually talking a little bit. So why wouldn't they answer the questions? That doesn't seem right. Then do you know what, mate? Job done. So you can spout off as much as you like. I'm going to ignore you from now on, unless you put something up that's relatively sensible. Neil Price, they ain't as cool as train robbers. Don't give him a platform. He won't be, mate. I'll tell you what, though, English nationalist, I will give you a platform, but the platform I'll give you is if you come on camera and talk to us properly, not just in a chat, not just. So if you're up for that, I'll send you a link and then you can come on and I'll get you straight on and we can go from there. Otherwise, zip it. Neil Price, I'm all ears. So with regards to, just to cut a long story short, Andy, so Paul Thorpe is one of Tommy's team, I would say. maybe on the periphery, but certainly part of that movement, influential figure, followers, all that kind of thing. And Danny in Spain, a similar person. And I bet you can guess where he lives. So these two guys over the last couple of days have basically said that they're tapping out. They want nothing more to do with politics. Something that happened to Danny Salmon whilst back in the UK, and this, and I quote, has shocked them to the core, that it seems like everything they've done over the years has been for nothing. Now, in my book, you know, that to me kind of should put a little alarm bell in people's heads and think, Christ, what's going on? You know, it certainly does for me because of the way I think and the way I feel. Simon, let's go to you first. It's strange.
Well, I saw Danny Salmon's resignation speech, effectively, anyway, resignation speech this afternoon on YouTube. He certainly looks very perturbed by something that's happened. I wonder what it is. I mean, so we can only speculate. Is it the £42,000 that was raised in the name of Peter Lynch and Tommy's kids? And if it is that, then obviously the Lynch family was entitled to exactly half of that money. So what's going on in the background? Well, I don't know. I mean, Batesy obviously knows a lot more than what we do, but you know, that's for him to deal with, and I'm sure he's up to something behind the scenes, although I don't know exactly what. But yeah, Paul Thorpe effectively gave his resignation speech yesterday, and so obviously it's a tandem act. And today, Danny Salmon has gone onto YouTube and effectively quit himself. But I think an important point to make is say we're quitting politics. They were never involved in politics. They were involved in a grifting movement, a grifting operation. There's never been a political organisation. It's never been a political movement. And quite apart from which fact, the English Defence League was never a political movement either. It was a street gang, a so-called pressure movement, focusing on Islam and pandering to Zionism and Israel. You know, I mean, I was in the British National Party, and whether you like it or not, it was a political party dedicated to contesting elections, particularly BNP Phase 2 under Nick Griffith. So the EDL was never anything of that nature. So I would ask, what political movement have they been involved in? I just don't see any evidence of their political activity.
Well, the bottom line is, Simon, Tommy Robinson will never be an MP, can never be an MP. I saw a post from Lawrence Fox. I've got a lot of time for Lawrence Fox, if I'm honest. I've interviewed him, and I enjoyed the interview. But he came out with a tweet the other day, and he basically said he judges parties now on one question and one question only, and that is, would you accept Tommy into the party with open arms? And should they say no, then they're not a serious organisation from there. And I made the comment to him. I said, Lawrence, you do know that Tommy can never be an MP, can't you? He can, of course, be a member of a party. He can, of course, be a mouthpiece for a party. He can, of course, do activism for a party. But he cannot and will not ever stand to be an MP.
Not got a conviction for it.
Say that again, Andy.
He ain't got a conviction for it. He can't stick to one.
But not the conviction.
Neil Price says Tommy's just a gotcha journalist, and that's exactly what he is. Well, is he even that? I mean, I've got my own thoughts on Tommy, as do these guys. I just believe he's a serial grifter. You know, he's got a conviction list as long as his arm. But the most frustrating thing for me, and the most worrying thing, if I'm honest, is despite all of that, he still has thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of followers that are prepared to put their hands in their pockets and fill buckets up at a rally to the tune of £40,000. Andy, can you tell me a bit about your journey in and around this movement? I know we've had a quick chat before we came on, but if for people that don't know who you are, obviously English Nationalist knows who you are. He said you've got his address as well, Andy, and he's been in your face before, and you chickened out. I don't know, you may want to answer that, you may not. But can you tell us about when you first got into this, and you started seeing with your own eyes that things weren't quite right?
I can't remember what protests we was on. I think it was to do with the veterans. Danny Tomo was out, and there was like different divisions of like the football lads. There's like SED, Southeast Division, the Northeast Division, etc. There was a group of football lads, which I believe were Southeast Division, that attacked Danny and started shouting nonce, you child abuser, and just going at him. Like, I think it was like 2 or 3 punches thrown at him. Like, and I think the following weekend there was another protest. I can't remember if it was the following weekend or the same weekend, but he was around Tracy Blackwell trying to do an interview with him, and his phone got taken off him. He got attacked. Now, the phone had certain evidences on it and certain videos on it, and I heard through the grapevine of TRR, Vinnie Sullivan, about 2 of the videos. One of them got put public through Kate White, Rona. I believe it got put onto Pornhub. Danny Tomo wanking video. The other video was the demon one with an underage woman. I can't go into it too much, but members of the team that I was close to knew of this. I mean, if they're going around saying they're there for the victims, but they know what Danny Tomo's done, are they there for the victims when they're fucking covering for one? Not victims, but covering for a fucking nonce. But the questions, amount of questions, I tried getting into them, it was just threats. That was their only answer. It was threats. Blackmail. Oh, we're going to put this out, accuse you of this, and boom. Sending emails to employer, trying to get me sacked. I do drugs. I just anything to try and ruin my life and to threaten me into silence. And I just thought, they're just online fucking trolls trying to cover for some fucking scum, trying to make money out of the movement. As you've seen the recent stuff that's going on, I honestly can't believe people to this day are still donating to him. It is unreal.
Yeah, I'm pretty new to all of this. I only really got into it because of what happened to me last year, and I find it baffling. I really do. And don't get me, I went on a march, and I was singing Tommy's name. But obviously, the more I did research, the more concerned I got, and then the more people that I spoke to, etc., etc. And it's as far as I can, it's plain to see what these guys and girls are up to.
Yeah.
Hey, in what walk of life, right, would any organisation, let's just take a business on the high street, they've got 15 employees, and let's say, how strange would it be if 85% of them had a name change?
Yeah, that's extremely.
It's, but people don't question that with these guys. They've all got name changes. They're all doing stuff on Company's House, which is, very strange to say the least. They're like dumping, their dumper accounts, and then they're open and closed, etc. And honestly, I'm no researcher. I'm no nothing really. But even just doing a little bit of research, you can start to add all the dots together, and 2 + 2 becomes 4. Simon, Andy was talking there about something that we're quite au fait to, and that is, you ask the questions, you put stuff out there, and then you hit with your hope not hate, you're a nonce, you're this, you're that, you're the other. Why is this their go-to tactic?
Well, basically, gaslighting. It's the norm in political campaigns. I mean, I joined the BNP 35 years ago. And I remember the first time I ever really encountered the far left was at New Parks in Leicester, a particularly shady area. And the abuse that came out of their mouth, while stood behind the safety of police lines, that is, running their mouth off big time. It was quite shocking, in actual fact, because the BNP organizer, John Peacock, for the Midlands, and I was his deputy, I didn't know at that time his daughter was disabled in a wheelchair. And they were shouting, "Oh, where's your daughter, Peacock? Not fucking good enough for the master race, eh?" Just absolutely sickening. And so that really was my first ever encounter with gaslighting, with smear campaigns and abuse, just toxic narcissistic behavior. And over the years since then, there was another guy, he stood for the BNP in Newark, I think it was. And so the left, because the centre-right crooks behave in exactly the same way as the left, because there's not really an awful lot of difference between them, in terms of, where they stand on the Overton scale. I'm not talking about the Overton window, I'm talking about an Overton scale, which is a sliding scale in actual fact. So the left went around Newark putting out leaflets accusing him of being a paedophile, you know, and that obviously led to a very serious incident in Nottingham city centre, in which the left discovered that it was a very bad idea to do these things, you know, and they were disincentivized from doing it ever again. But the point I'm making is it's standard copybook. You know, you have to lie to the public to ensure the public don't attach themselves to people who are actually trying to affect some form of real change. And it's the same thing with Tommy and his plastic gangsters, basically. You know, people are exposing them or questioning their motives for grifting all this money. And so straight away it's, you know, you're a nonce, you're a paedophile, you're a convicted child rapist, etc. We've heard it all before. And you nick 500,000 quid off UKIP, which is what they said in my case, and I explained this previously. I've never been in UKIP, never wanted to, can't stand the organisation, and always regarded them as a joke, in truth. But this is how they behave, you see. And then they whip each other up into like a war dance, you know? It's like the natives around the bonfire at night time, whipping themselves up into a war dance before they go into battle against the 7th Cavalry the next day. The only difference is that they're not going into any battle against the 7th Cavalry the next day. Their battle is online trolling, intimidation, terror tactics, basically. And of course, when they can't get at you and they realize that's not working, then they start to target the intimate members of your family. In my case, threatening to kill my 89-year-old mother, which is a truly sickening and twisted, despicable act. But, you know, what it really shows is, why didn't the police take any action? Well, it's that two-tier justice routine again, which these people have benefited from. And as I explained to you in studio before we went live, they also telephoned my former fiancée, Elizabeth, and threatened to rape her. And these are the people who claim that they're protecting the public from little girl rapists, whilst Danny Tomo allegedly is having it away with a 15-year-old girl, according to accounts.
Sickening. Obviously, Simon's had his experiences with these death threats and confrontations. I've had mine. I don't really need to talk about them. I'm not really that bothered. It doesn't really affect me. Not interested in the slightest. I will talk about Gurumit Singh a little bit later, though, and I'll show you a little clip of his that he's done recently. But Andy, I haven't heard or spoken to you really about how far the abuse has gone with you.
Well, pictures of my kids, pictures of my family members are all posted out. Nothing much said with it, just posted out. Trying to make my mind go wild or something, but just ignore them. Just going on. It's all mouth, no action. That's all it is with these people. I mean, don't get me wrong, they have turned up to places like to try and do something, but they'll be mob-handed. Ginger Tony turned up to a local pub in Birmingham, attacked a partially blinded woman, a group of
actually
9 people. Yep. Just because they're so pissed off that they've been exposed to what they are. But everything they do is all for a fucking show. That's all it is, a fucking show. It's a shit show. It's all about protecting that messiah, Tommy Robinson, and his donations and his audience. All
Absolutely.
It's about.
Just so you know, English nationalist is still spouting off in the comments. He doesn't want to come and join us on video, so I'll just leave him to his own nonsense, and he can amuse himself. Neil Price, who I do speak regularly, he's actually talking a bit of sense, and he basically says in his comment earlier, he said that he doesn't actually believe that Tom is in jail. As weird as that sounds, he says. Now, Neil, I think he is in jail, but I certainly don't think he's having any kind of any bad time than what people are leading us to believe. You know, how can you, with the amount of visits and phone calls and things that he's allowed? And let's not forget, everybody, that, you know, a fundraiser was set up so that Tommy can fight this with all of his might so he can take on the establishment and he will prevail, and then walks into court and says, I'm guilty. Now, you know, if I donated into that, I'd have thought, you fucking arsehole, I want my money back. You know, why is it that people can't see what's happening right in front of their eyes, Simon?
Well, you know, it's hero worship, isn't it? Once they're hooked, it's a form of soul capture. And con artists have behaved like this since the dawn of time, basically. So they get into your being, into your head, into your system, basically. And there's the soul capture. So once they've got the soul capture, they've got access to everything else. So, you know, once you believe in them, and they prompt you with, well, look, you know, I'm in the fight of my life. I need 150 grand. Can you give some money towards this, you know, because I need it for my kids, isn't it? You know, boom, there you go. And likewise, you know, they tip up. And likewise, when it comes to someone who's exposing the truth about them, because they've become addicted, you know, soul captured, basically, that they will refuse to accept what is staring them in the face. And then they join in with all the other trolls in the troll factory and start screaming and ranting abuse, because in numbers, they think they're strong and powerful. But, you know, you see them out in the street on the road and they're not quite so powerful. And when they've come for me, it's nearly always been in gangs, you know, as Anne said. And even in the gangs, that they didn't succeed, because I'm not playing any games with any of that lot after what they threatened me. And I can't obviously explain on here live how I stopped them. But they were stopped. And so, yeah, you know, once they're soul captured, how do you disinfect the soul? That is a very difficult process, because, you know, in essence, it's a little bit like denazification or decommunization. Do you understand what I'm saying? Once somebody's become a radical, when they've been radicalized, how do you take the radicalization out of them? Introduce them to the Marxist fanatics at Prevent, perhaps, who have themselves been radicalized by a hateful ideology that has killed more people than cancer. So it's the same problem across the board. It's not just Tommy and you know, and his trolls, basically. De-radicalization is a very, very difficult process. But there's one thing I always remember years ago, always stuck in my mind, because I mean, I grew up in a house where we had only one television, and we had to watch what my father wanted to watch, because he was very patriarchal, domineering. Do you understand what I'm saying? I'm the boss. Everything gets done my way. And so one of the things I was forced to watch in childhood were, you know, TV series adapted from the John le Carre books. And so there's one, I think it's in Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy, where he's talking about Carla, the KGB controller in Moscow Center. And he's trying to explain to one of his colleagues that the fanatic always has a hidden doubt. And that is how you get them, by picking away at that hidden doubt. Because whilst they fanatically believe in what they think they believe in, there's always a hidden doubt nagging inside. Is this true? Can anything be justified in the name of the cause? And that's where you have to play them. And that's exactly what we're doing. We're playing to the hidden doubt, you know, psychological warfare. Because that's how they operate, psyops. You know, soul capture is a form of psychological warfare. That's how they capture people. And I can't think, truthfully, of any other way to neutralize what they're doing, or to reverse what they're doing, other than to play them in exactly the same way, but for different reasons, i.e. psyops. You know, so let's target that hidden doubt, which is what we're doing now with all of these videos and everything that we publish on social media. We're targeting the fanatic and his hidden doubt, because eventually he'll crumble. And in that book, I mean, okay, yeah, I know it's only fiction, but it's actually based on his time in British Intelligence 5 and 6. George Smiley actually succeeds by manipulating Carla's mentally ill daughter and bringing him across the, you know, from the Soviet Union, basically, to become a defector. So, I mean, it's quite a coup in that respect. I mean, in reality, it never happened that way. But in essence, what he's trying to say is that even though they're a fanatic and they're powerful and at the top, you can still bring them down just by using the hidden doubt factor. And that's what I think we need to concentrate on, because I don't have any other answers, Mark. Quite frankly, I'm not a magnus opus of solutions to all the things that are wrong in the world. I only know what I know, and I'd like to know much more, and that's what
Absolutely.
I do know. I think that's,
it didn't take long for English nationalists to mention hope not hate. So they're busy having an online spat with Neil. What I'd suggest, Neil, is just ignore him, mate. He sounds like a bit of a sap, a bit of a lemon. Just let him.
It is true. The true sap is rising.
That's all it is,
Let him just type his little nonsense and go on with it. That's what I would say.
Carrying on from that conversation, that question, pretty much what Simon's just said there, that they're soulless. I think they've been traumatized with the shit that's going on in this world, and they're just needing someone to feel at home with. And unfortunately, they get tangled in with these scammers online. And as you can see there, they're just, you attack their messiah, that's it, boom, they explode. But
Andy, when you was you've obviously put a lot into the public domain. Obviously, been on your YouTube channel. What was the public's reaction? Did you get any positive reaction from it, or was it all swept under the carpet? Did you get any traction with anything? Because I've seen and I've heard a few of your voice notes and a few clips that I've seen so far, and let me tell you, they will be coming out again, and we will put, we will make sure that this is rammed home, that what these people are like. And because I've never put them out, I know Andy has, but over the coming weeks, this is definitely going to happen. This is not going away until we get the answers that we want. But Andy, what was the public reaction like?
There's a lot of comeback towards me, because the people that know me are the ones that are watching my channels and that knew me from the Tommy movement. So me sharing it on my platforms hasn't really got it far. But to those that haven't seen it, that have watched it, they can see what he's doing, but they just don't want to say nothing. And it's like, people need to speak up about this. We've shown publicly in the last 5 years that these people, all they do is throw threats. They don't stick to the words. They have not got the bollocks to, and they always have to have it recorded. Obviously, Simon, you had different issues where they turned up in gangs, and maybe that's what they really want to do. If they can get you that opportunity, they'll do it. But with me, they've just not done that, other than Tony turning up at my workplace when she knew I wasn't even there that fucking weekend, for fuck's sake. But again, it was all on camera.
Before we go any further, our good friend English Nationalist would like a link. So that's great. Let's give him a link and let's get him on. Let's put a face to the words. Just bear with me, Simon. If you could just respond to Andy, and I'll try and get this sorted.
Yeah, sure. I mean, that what you're talking about there, Andy, with the vanity whore issue. Yeah, they do suffer from vanity whore issues quite extensively. I think the worst one that I had was the one on the hedgerow in Leeds in November 2018. Pitch black. In truth, the hedgerow, there was probably 60-70% non-white immigrants on that street. It's one of the main arteries running through the top end of Leeds. And these three white guys came down. One was about 6'2", he was the leader, and spotted me and just came straight for me. And I'm like, the instant thought is, hold on, we're on a street full of immigrants and you're after another white guy? And then it clicked in, Leeds United football hooligans, and bang. So I went for the lead guy basically, and showed him what I had, and they did fancy it, and that was just totally opportunistic. So, and another reason, it's not just opportunism. When they're there to do you some serious damage, they're not going to record that.
No.
Let me just jump in, Andy. So your link's there. English Nationalist. Hopefully we can call you something different when you come on. It's there, mate. Click it, get yourself in, and I'll invite you to the stage. Sorry, Andy, for butting in, mate.
That's all right. It'd be interesting, because he claims he knows me. I don't know who it is.
That's why I'm more than prepared to let him come on, because I'm interested as well.
Yeah. Watch him throw the deflection away from what we're talking. Just watch how he goes with this. It'll be personal.
Absolutely, but
that's
then
exactly what they do.
So the good thing is we show people for what they are.
100%.
We're asking legitimate questions about legitimate things that we feel strongly about, because people are getting conned up and down the country, in our opinion. Yeah, so we're asking legitimate questions, and we're asking them, and we just want the answers. Nobody's giving us those answers, so then we get punchy with everything. But these people, all they want to do is throw slurs at you. They want to give you death threats. They want to call you a nonce. They want to call. I mean, some of the things that's been said to me, it's just like, I wouldn't, you wouldn't say it to somebody you've detested. You know what I mean? And it's just like vile stuff. So it will either go where we can actually get this guy on and have a decent conversation with somebody, or he's going to be a prick, and then people will see him for who he is. Assuming it's a he. Simon.
Yes. What was that, Mark? We're waiting for English nationalist, or
we'll see if he gets.
Are we right? Okay, whatever. Well, it'll be very interesting to see what they have to say, as long as they're reasonable, which will be.
Just watch that video bomb you. That's another one they do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Video bomb me. What's this?
Danny, I'll tell you of an instance. We was on a live stream. I can't remember who it was on. I don't do live streams on my channel. It was on someone else's, and we got Danny Roscoe to come on, and he came on with it. He was in a stock account on YouTube, and he came on with his own YouTube account, and he had Paul in the background. Paul bombed the channel. Danny Roscoe, he left his name on his channel so we can see who it actually was, because at the time in the chat we didn't know it was Danny Roscoe.
Yeah, Danny Roscoe's he's doxed my location. He doxed my location before, and the last comment he said about me was because I blocked him. Now, let's just get one thing right. If I block you, it's not because I'm scared of you. It's not because you are frightening me or anything like that. It's because you're a sap and you talk absolute fucking nonsense. That's why you will get blocked from me. So Danny Roscoe has said, because Mark the sap has blocked me, next time I have to answer to him, it will be face to face. So we'll see how that
I'm still waiting for that day.
English National is saying that you've clicked the thing. You haven't clicked it, mate, because otherwise you'd be popping up on my screen and I'd have you straight on the stage. So don't try and make out you're trying to do something when you're not. So if anybody's
wasting time on this person, whoever it is.
So until you click it properly and set out your thing, you'll come up and I will get you on the screen straight away. Until then, you're talking to thin air, mate. Sorry, Simon.
Yeah, sorry, mate. What Andy was saying there, and you as well, basically, it reminded me of the incident in November 2017. I was sat in a coffee shop on Bond Street in Leeds, and up comes this call on Facebook Messenger, and it's the mighty midget Damien Brown from Ashford in Kent. I can't repeat the words that I use because of the YouTube algorithm. And I just sat there and I said, well, the thing is, I said, why do you need a gang? Yeah, we're getting a right old team of lads together and come and do unit. I said, but why do you need a gang? I said, you just called me an old man and that I'm incapable of looking after myself. I said, fair enough, no problem, come and to the test, but why do you need a gang? And the litany of abuse that came out of his mouth, it just, to me, it just came across as somebody who was so mentally unstable, they probably wouldn't even qualify to be sectioned under the Mental Health Act. They'd have to put them somewhere else. I don't know quite where, but I'm sure there is somewhere. I don't have that much furtive imagination, but yeah, the abuse was just absolutely epic. And I just sat there and listened to it, and I said, right, okay. I said, well, fair enough, mate, whenever you're ready. And I was laughing because he's sat there talking in his fake Cockney accent, in it, Gavna, giving it the big one. And I thought, well, the thing is, mate, if you come here to Leeds with that accent, you're going to run into trouble straight away because they absolutely hate Cockneys in Leeds, big time. And you're going to stand out like a sore thumb, and nobody's going to be on your side. They're all going to be with me because I'm from the Midlands, mate. And I'm not Southerner. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, yeah, it was... I think people like Damien Brown they watch all these films like The Football Factory and The Rise of the Foot Rot. You understand what I'm saying? And they imagine themselves to be part of these gangs, Essex Boys and all that stuff.
Until it's in their face, and then they fucking shit themselves.
Yeah. That's in it, G. You know what I mean? My G. In it, bro. All this claptrap, basically, this urban street garbage, basically, that people talk these days. And I think what Andy was saying earlier, it was a very good point, actually, because he was talking about these people are damaged. Well, crikey, I mean, in truth, in fairness to all of them, who couldn't be damaged by what's happening in this country now?
Yeah.
I mean, the only way I deal with it is to be as clinically detached as I possibly can, you know, to shut off my emotions, basically. Otherwise, it would literally, you know, drive you around the bend, you know, when you see the things that are happening and the decline of society, the descent of Western.
Yeah. So
they've lost their soul. They've got no purpose in life. They're following the lead of what someone tells them to do because they think they're a hero. And if you've got no soul, you ain't going to give no damn in the world, are you, really, about what's going on below you? You know?
Absolutely. English nationalist, he's telling me to man up, but you know, the invite's been sent and he's not pressing on it. I'll give you a couple more minutes because I'll give you a couple more minutes because you know what? I would actually like to speak to somebody that's, you know, opposed to what we're saying. You know, that's all I've been asking for the last few weeks since, you know, I dusted myself down after offering myself on a plate to everybody because, you know, I backtracked on what I was saying. And did I? And he actually says here that you should be begging forgiveness from Richard Inman. I actually spoke to Richard Inman and I did apologise to him because I probably did go a little bit too far with that. However, I will say this: it was a true statement, which I'd said. I should just not have said it in a public domain. That was wrong of me, and I've already apologised to him for that. And you know, I would apologise for again because I probably did go a bit too far. But ultimately, it was the truth, and that's all playing out in real terms. So, if there is anybody watching this that you know is opposed to what we're saying, who really feels strongly against what we're saying and wants to have a say, then do you know what? We are sensible people. I'm a sensible person. You know, if you're prepared to have a chat with me and be normal and civil, then I'm more than prepared to have a chat with you. And I'm sure Simon and Andy will say the same thing. You know, we don't need idiots saying, you know, talking nonsense, asking for a link and then not using that link. So couple more minutes, mate. If you're not going to come on, then I'm just going to kick you from the chat anyway, because you're tying everything up.
Yeah, no interest in what you had to say in regards to that last scam. No interest, no questions, nothing.
I think the best thing to do is to forget all about English nationalism, English nationalists, and go back to the real issue at hand, which generates everything that we're doing. Is where's the audited accounts?
Right.
I mean, I've been asking to see audited accounts since 2017. I've never seen one. Where are they?
Well, we found out. If you look up Helen Sheila Gower, she was one of the directors for the English Defence League on UK companies, UK online. I can't remember the name of it. So we directly went to Helen Gower to speak to her about this, you know, donations and that. And we won an audit, and the attacks and fucking hell. Helen Gower is like head of Ginger Tony. She's like the director, like directs them to certain things. Helga is the spokesperson for the left, which we found out. We got quite triggered in a channel on Telegram, and she started slipping and digging herself up what she was doing in the team. And the amount of things we got her to expose. I mean, she threatened to go and visit our victim's house up in Newcastle, threatened to do her dozen and saying that she would do time to do her in. And we've got that voice note of Helen Gower. And again, a director on EDL I think she's an ex-director back in 2019. I couldn't give a dates, but they're all there, public information. But the best bit of all, I don't know if you've come across any like connections to government or connections to the Home Office, but her son works for the Home Office.
Yeah,
work that one out. Right? Yeah.
Jada,
the media silence on that?
Jada explained about how Tommy met them in Bedfordshire at a pub, basically, with his special branch handler called Dave. They all seem to be called Dave these days, don't they? But yeah, I mean, there's a government connection for a start, basically. And in my case, every single one of the architects behind the gaslighting campaign bragged in direct messages that the police would never touch them, because the police hated me, which is true, absolutely. And they were totally confident of being insulated from any form of arrest and prosecution. And that's exactly what it worked out. So, look, there's your connection with the state, whilst they're pretending to be anti-establishment. And I also like to say that it's not just the the Rob and Sob Troll Factory, because we're actually talking about Tommy, Rob and Sob. You know, his real name's Stephen Yaxley Lennon. So we're talking about Tommy, Rob and Sob, the vanity or the public persona, you know, the golden cash cow behind all the grifting. So the important point to make is, whilst he has this cosmetic disagreement with Nigel Farage over who's got the biggest ego, quite frankly, Farage's trolls behave in exactly the same way. They're exactly the same people, in actual fact, and in many cases, they support both of them. There are loads of problems with them. And UKIP, of course, well, I think they are probably even sicker than the Rob and Sob trolls, in my experience. Some of the things that
they're a match made in heaven, because obviously, I don't know if people know, but it looks like very much that Tommy Robinson and his team are getting into bed with UKIP, and vice versa. Richard Inman in a senior position. You've got Ricky Doolan in there as well, Calvin Robinson, all the normal names that you might associate with Tommy Robinson and his team. So it's going to be interesting how that plays out if Tommy gets out of prison, to see how they position themselves and just to see how that materializes moving forward. Because people say, you know, when my arse is going to fall out when Tommy Robinson gets out of prison. Do you know what? It won't. What it will actually do, it will actually give me an opportunity to speak to somebody that may well have the bollocks to come and answer a few questions. And the one thing I can't get around my head, Andy, is, you know, they are legitimate questions, and they're questions that have still not been answered. So specifically to this £42,000 Peter Lynch donations thing, what me and Simon have said, look, any charity should have a trail of accounts when it comes to donations, even if it was in a bucket. And we know that there was card readers going around on that day as well. So there's definitely an electronic trail as well. Why can't you just publish them? Because by publishing them, you put idiots like me, fat men sitting here on podcasts trying to tell you what you are. It shuts me up, you know, instantly. Why hasn't that been done? They said, you know, that when Richard Inman was screaming from the top of his voice to put money in buckets in the name of Peter Lynch, that Peter Lynch's family would be getting half of the money and Tommy Robinson's children will be getting the other half of the money. Now, they say that they raised £4,000. So I've said this before. Let's just say that that's true. And they did, in fact, raise £4,000. Now, you don't have to be a mathematician to know that half of £4,000 is £2,000, yet they're only offering Peter Lynch's family £1,000. And this is a publication through Urban Scoop, you know. Now, if it was me, right, and I was raising money in somebody's name, and then you go to the family or the person who you're supposed to be raising money for, and you say, look, I've raised X amount, and they tell you that they don't want it, what would be the first thing you do at that point? Because if it was me, I'd be putting a communication out to all the people that had donated in the first place and said, look, we've raised this money, we've gone to the family, they've said they don't actually want it. So this is what we're going to do with the money. Do you know what? On this occasion, it's all going to go to Tommy's kids. Or on this occasion, when we're going to give their £1,000, which they claim is all that they owe them, we're going to give that to a children's charity. Surely that's
you're clear. Sorry, wouldn't you?
Exactly. So, you know, the questions that we're asking are not, they're not trying to catch people out. It's just basic questions.
Where's the money?
You know, where is the money, and why didn't you do this at a certain time, and why didn't you do that? And, you know, the family told you not to wear T-shirts, but you went ahead and wore them anyway. Why? You know, me and Simon were talking the other night about Urban Scoop, in fact, and we're fully aware that, and this has come from a close tie to Tommy, to be honest, that following the Sun newspaper article, which then went on to be a Daily Mail article and another newspaper. It evades me what the third paper was, but there was definitely three. Following that, then the donations to the organisation have dropped by, was it 75%, Simon?
70%, I was told, yeah.
70%, just because that article had come out. So then we see, and this is why it might ring true. You know, I'm not saying that is definitely true because I don't know, but that's what we're being told. But then to go along with that as well, you know, somebody's saying this who's got close ties with Tommy, and at the same time, you're almost seeing a rebrand from Urban Scoop into a paedophile hunter organization with Gurumit Singh heading up the one of the hunters, you know, and doesn't make sense, does it not?
The new grift. You know, I mean, if you're not going to get your answers, I think you'll consolidate your own answer, what they're up to. You know, the multiple companies on limited companies, they're there for a scam. They're making a living out of this. You know, they've seen the movement. They thought, right, we can jump on that. Got a bit of a following. Let's put a sob story out and then play victim. It's the same fucking play card every time.
Do you know what the sad thing is, though, Andy, and why, you know, this is something I can't leave. I won't leave, whether, you know, however this all plays out. And I think it will play out eventually by somebody, you know, having too much stuff on them that it's going to be undeniable. And
it will get there.
You know, I look forward to that to happen. And then all these people are going to feel, well, maybe they won't, you know. But what the sad thing is that this country's fucked. This country is in such a shit state of affairs with, you know, we're being replaced. I don't care what anybody says. We are being replaced. We have our hotels being taken up by unchecked, unvetted migrants that are coming in on boats. And
ex-serving as well.
Teenage males. We've got the highest electricity, gas, and water prices anywhere in Europe. We've got, you know, it's just a horrible place to live at the moment. We've got so many issues, and so many people are putting all their attention and their love and their generosity into this. You know, when we desperately need to be unified and to all be going to one goal, and that is to ultimately get us back to where we need to be. Simon?
See, the answer back to the original question about these that have lost their souls and got none of the followers, that you're going to have to take the main person down. It's somehow get this story out to something bigger. That it was, if he's connected to government, how do we know he's not part of the, you know, you've got NGOs, Nick Lowell's and Hope Not Hate. What's saying that Tommy isn't for the right side to divide the right? Just, I mean, the connections are there, like I said, but these people need taken out. It's the only way you're going to get rid of this situation we're in, with people just being so stupid.
And the thing is, you know, that Tommy Robinson is a popular figure. There's no denying that. And I've said this as well, that he has done some good work with grooming gangs. That's undeniable. Yeah, and I won't deny that. But he does it for a reason, and that is to enable his bad, you know. And it's, you know, it's quite a clever thing to do. You know, do good in the public eye, Christianity, all that kind of thing, to enable him to do the grift. Yeah. And what I can't stand and why I feel so passionate about it is because they use Christianity as a cloak. And I'm a Christian guy, and people go, "Oh yeah,
Christian." Well, they always run to Christianity when they've been caught. Like Danny Tomo did that, didn't he?
Well, he's a warrior of God, no less.
Yeah. Well, that's because of all the story that's come out about him and these allegations. Oh, he's leaving the movement because he's going to concentrate on his family. Next thing you know, he's doing a dirt on his wife with Lisa Barbaros from the MEF. Again, Middle East Forum. Another scam that Tommy's involved with Danny Tomo. It's just one thing after another thing. There's small scams, big scams, but the fact that he's still carrying on and people are still donating to him, maybe.
Well, I think this. I think even if we manage to dismantle the grifting operation here in the UK, there's another factor which I think everybody needs to focus on, you know, because it won't be put out of business. Because who is Tommy's real master? It's Ezra Levant,
Lord Pearson,
Canada. You know, well, Lord Pearson, yeah, but Ezra Levant is the man who made Tommy the king of grift that he became here in Britain. You know, and now he's got Elon Musk behind him as well. You know, you've got an awful lot of like-minded others who are backing him, and it begs the question, you know, well, what are their motives? And so Ezra Vance obviously taught Tommy, I think, pretty much everything he knows about grifting.
Well, if you're a
so,
convicted criminal, you're not allowed in the House of Parliament. Well, Lord Pearson got Tomlin there, no bother.
well, absolutely. I mean, because rules don't apply to certain people, do they? They only apply to all criminals like us. You know?
And also, Jada come up with a good one in regards to the mortgage fraud. How come we had nothing seized?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, POCA, proceeds of crime order. You know, it's yeah. Look, I've seen people in prison subjected to POCA, and quite rightly in some respects because of what they were doing, and in some cases I thought to myself, that seems really shady because I know an awful lot of people on the outside, particularly in the grifting factory, who should really be subjected to POCAs themselves. But look, I think for me, where I'll close tonight is. Last year, just as the Southport riots were kicking off, Tommy made a video from his Spanish haven, was it? In which he said, "Get them out of those hotels. They know those hotels. Get them out of those hotels, lads." And he went into an epic rant, which really could only be classed as incitement to violence, and yet he's not been.
Danny Tomo did that as well. Danny Tomo is another one that was doing this, pushing them all to go out and attack the hotels. And you know what's going to happen. He could get arrested and get in prison. And it did. Again, he was the person that pushed them to do it. Yeah. The same fucking grifters.
Yeah. And of course, Paul Thorpe, he did a runner to Spain, another runner. He's always doing a runner to Spain as Paul. And, you know, he took his account, his YouTube material offline, basically, for his own protection, according to him. And then came back, I think it was about 10 days later, and said, "Oh, no, I've not done anything wrong at all, basically. No, I didn't run away and all this other stuff. I just needed a holiday, blah, blah, blah." But before that, he was giving it the big one as well. In fact, they're all giving it the big one until Starmer got steroidal tyrant on them.
Yeah.
You know, about the big stick of the law. And then basically they all shit themselves, quite frankly. That's what it was all about.
Mark, you asked a question regarding Paul Thorpe about why they've done what they've done in regards to coming away from Team Tommy. They got spooked by something.
This is what I was just about to say. We started on talking about Paul Thorpe, and it's probably a good way to end, really. And Andy Salmon's video that he put out today said that he's going to be doing a collab with Paul Thorpe. Now, Paul Thorpe said he said what he had to say, and he says, "Look, we're shocked, and you know, it seems like all the work has been for nothing. But I'm going to let Danny tell you what's been going on." And then Danny puts his video out today and doesn't confirm anything really, other than he's stepping away from the movement, politics, all that kind of thing, and they will talk about it soon as a collab. So I suppose we have to wait and see just how honest they're going to be to see what spooked them and, you know, what's actually gone on. But, you know, there's no smoke without fire. They've definitely ran away for some reason in Paul Thorpe's case. There's definitely something going on. You got to look at Urban Scoop. They post like once every 10 days now. You know, there's something going on, and I'm sure it will all come out. How soon it's going to come out, whether we're talking years, weeks, whatever, you know, but there will be a time when all of this comes crashing down. It will all become exposed, undeniable evidence. And then, you know, people like myself who are just trying to look out for decent, honest people will be vindicated. And, I don't want apologies or anything like that, but I'll be vindicated because I know I'm on the right side of things, you know. Now, we'll leave it as there. And what I will say, Andy, is, you know, we're now acquaintance, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what you've got, what voice notes you've got, what clips you've got, what information you've got, so I can run my own eye over things and see.
Yeah, sure.
Because I'm sure.
Yeah, go on. Sorry to interject, mate. Wouldn't be a good thing to close on the "Ain't No One Badder Than Me" video from Gurmit Singh?
I've been trying to load it. I'll get that one for the next time. So basically, what Simon's talking about is Gurmit Singh's put a couple of videos out, and one of them he's quite clearly high, and he's basically swinging around with his selfie stick, saying, "There's nobody badder than me." which did make me chuckle. And there's another video of him out, which recently actually, and he's making out somebody stole his shorts, and he's going to have to do a documentary on it. And he goes, and it's going to be people like 2 people that we've already dealt with, based in Islington and in Oakham. Now I'm based in Oakham, and I'm pretty sure that Paul Bates is the one that's based in Islington. So I don't know what he's trying to do there. He's trying to put frighteners on people, etc. So let's leave it as this. Again, it's been pretty quiet other than our friend English Nationalist. Nobody coming on to answer any questions or ask questions. Neil, thank you for getting involved, mate. But I'm going to say this before I go. English Nationalist, yeah, we generally just want conversation. We just want answers, the same as probably you want answers as well. The way that you've conducted yourself today, you've made yourself look a complete and utter prat. Yeah. And what's the lowest thing that anybody can do is to bring somebody's children into a conversation. I've point blank not read any of those messages out because I think it's just diabolical, mate. You need to give yourself a hard look in the mirror, give your head a wobble, and start fucking growing up a little bit, mate, because you just come across as a prat. You made yourself look fucking stupid. Yeah. And I just, if I see you in any of my lives again, you will not be having the same grace as what you've got tonight. What I am going to do, though, Mr. English Nationalist, if you are a Mr. after all, I'm going to unblock you because you say I've blocked you because you've obviously been a sap somewhere down the line. I'll unblock you, send me a message, I'll give you my number, and maybe we can have a serious grown-up conversation over the telephone. I very much doubt that'll happen, though. Thanks for joining us, Andy. I'm sure we'll do this again. Thank you so much, mate. I'll speak to you over the phone, mate. All right.
Fantastic. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, take care, Andy. Good to meet you, mate.
Simon, we're definitely going to be doing more of this. So thanks for joining me again, mate.
I'm really looking to the collaboration between Paul Thorpe and Danny Salmon, because it's going to be quite an interesting public relations stunt that they come out with, and it's going to be full of dripping with narcissistic victimhood as usual, because they don't know how to do anything else. But yeah, I think to be very entertaining. I might even go and get some popcorn in actual fact, mate, even though I'm not very fond of popcorn. Should be I don't know, what would you recommend? Salted caramel popcorn? It's got a bittersweet taste, hasn't it? Just
I'm obviously I'm on a diet all the time. I've got this physique to keep in order, so I can't really comment on popcorn, so you just do you, mate, and go from there. Simon, I'll speak to you soon. Have a nice weekend.
Take care, mate. You too, mate. Cheers, buddy. Bye.
Thanks a lot. What I will say, just to close this off, is that it's not going to go away. We are going to keep asking questions. I just really would just like to talk to somebody from the team. Just answer some questions. I mean, what harm can it do? Seriously. I'll ask every day, and we'll see what happens. But for now, thanks for listening. And to our friend English Nationalist, I'll unblock you, and let's see if we can have a chat, mate.